your compliance. You will feel no pain anymore, no more defiance.
Muse!
We just need your compliance. Just give us your compliance.
It's happened!
We won't let you feel lost anymore, no more self-reliance.
I've fallen in love with another Muse song. It's actually happened. And not just like in any novelty fashion. It is a case of being actually completely and utterly head over heels with every single part of the track. Again, like, won't stand down, except this time even more so because it hits on like every single like pop love that I have. And fuck me. It's blown me away. It's blown me away to have two tracks now that harken back to a lot of the old Muse stuff. Very much like just like the Black Holes vibes and then the Absol vibes that I've had between Won't Stand Down and this are killing me inside. And I know that like there's been a lot of hate going around. There always is. I still remember all the hate for Supermassive. Supermassive is the one that always gets brought up for the hate. And it's the one that like I was there for to see and witness. And I know that like there was hate as well for like a lot of the stuff, Absolution and that. And I don't know necessarily about any hate for Origin after the release of Showbiz. Obviously there was a stark contrast between Showbiz and Origin whenever all that happened. But we're here now, and I guess I want to explain why I think everybody's wrong that is pontificating about this being another Muse resting on their laurels and going back to what they always do with a basic political song that Matt wrote in like 2 minutes that is just the same old Muse that they've been doing for like 5 albums now. And it's not for me. Yes, it's political, but like, I mean, you're not really going to get a non-political album from Muse in this time frame, and I find this much more pointed than we've had in quite a while as well. Very much more pointed. At least, you know, like, because there is a specific subset of like predatory group that Matt is targeting with the lyrics, and he's done some really good stuff here between the sounds of everything and like what Chris has done with the bass and Dom's drumming is, you know, is Dom's drumming. It's really good. It's the usual at this point, but like, well, it's all come together for like this. I am scared by this song. The lyrical content and the way it is sung scares the living shit out of me. For good reason, and I certainly think, you know, intentional or not, it's really hit on something that like hits me hard. And like I talked about in the video the other day with the album stuff, about like Matt's own journey with conspiracies and all that in the mid-noughties and before that, and my own, and how like him and I, like, we're pretty similar, I think, in like a lot of our like conspiracy stuff. Maybe him a bit deeper on the believing side, but like certainly like it's one of the main things that interested me in like reading about him as a person and like hearing interviews about him talking about more than just music and talking about other influences and his conspiracy stuff and all that. And finding this track, for me at least, reflects on a lot of like a few points in my life where I could say I would have been vulnerable to falling for certain groups and certain things, and I'm wondering like if Matt feels the same. Like maybe like, again, like a lot of some talk always comes up about Matt appearing in Alex Jones and stuff like that, and you know, like obviously like then that all changed come like the time of Uprising, all that, whenever the certain parts of the world and certain groups had become quite a bit more problematic, like Glenn Beck, and then Glenn Beck's support of Uprising and trying to drag Muse towards him with the supportive uprising and the pushback against that and shit like that. It just makes me wonder, like, if that's a thing, because it feels like a really good, like, if Matt had a moment there where, like, he felt this himself, because it's a really good song at, like, showcasing the alluring nature that cults, gangs, the anti-vax crowd, QAnon, any of these cunt artists, and other such groups that will drag you in and prey on your fears, on your worries, on like your like really focus on those vulnerabilities and try and push in on you. This is haunting, very much so, in the way that it pushes forward that idea and does it in the catchiest manner possible, which is the scariest shit of the lot, because that is exactly how cults think. This is basically what I'm saying. This is Muse's version of na 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 leader, and it hits me hard. It really does, when combining that, like, theme and that feeling that I get from it with what I see as Muse's, like, best bass line. Since I meant to go through the songs earlier to try and figure out, like, where in time I would rank this bass line and where I would rank the last time we had a bass line this good, but it's been that long, I don't necessarily remember. I'm trying to figure it out now. I mean, probably at least around Black Holes, maybe. It's been a long time. Not to say there hasn't been great bass lines here, but this one is, like, exceptional for me in just how simple it is, but how amazing it sounds, how good the bass tone sounds, and how good, like, it is played. It's something special. And then, like, just the synths. We'll get into that in a bit, but yeah, the synths are something absolutely fucking special. I don't know, man. It's a weird ride to be here. Whenever it came to, like, listening to the song for the first time the other day, because I've been listening to it after Gary linked it to me in the group, and, like, even hearing, like, this version being 35 seconds longer than what we had already. Or the release version over what the music video version is, the radio edit version, I suppose. I heard, like, the first 5 seconds after clicking in the link, not knowing what it was, and then, like, I was like, what the fuck, this is actually the song, oh my god, right? And then, like, ran to get it sorted and fell in love with it immediately. Hearing that bass line is such a good hook. And that the bass line is then where it drive me back to Black Holes. It gave me the feeling of Easily, the verses driven by the bass, carried by the bass, the flow going through it, combined with the vocals. Like, it's not exactly a perfect match for Easily, but it just gives me that same vibe again, and it's a vibe that Muse haven't really dabbled with enough over the last number of albums. I find, like, as much as I love the dark side, I find the bass in that quite boring through the verses, and it just doesn't have the same feel. But this feels like old Muse with that flow and that focus on some of the instruments that like, it's not like it wasn't there before. It just wasn't as good, and it wasn't as tight knit. And this feels like it was really tightly structured to be something. And it's another point that I had but won't stand down as well, in a song that, like, you had Psycho in that. Like, Psycho is probably the poster child for where Muse had gone, in that they wrote some good licks, wrote some good riffs, wrote maybe, like, an interesting little hook, and drove it into the ground by not knowing when to say when. Psycho goes on for about a minute too long, about a chorus too long, maybe even more than a minute too long. It could be shortened massively. The What Is Music pod did a great talk on that sort of thing as well. But, like, it's been a problem for a while, and, like, you've got stuff like The Globalist and all that, like, certain parts weren't as long as they should be to really get, like, a feeling going. I guess I get what they're going for thematically, but still, I don't think it works in terms of, like, actual listener enjoyment. And then, like, other parts of The Globalist just go on way too long as well. They have meandered past what I would think was acceptable for decent music that can be listened to over and over again, that is catchy and has something to it. And for me, a lot of Muse songs started to wear me down in multiple listens, and like, you know, you could come back to them after a while and be like, yeah, great, cool, wonderful. It's I've been away from it for a while. Oh, this is great. This is this little bit and that little bit, and then like either they're like you're sitting there for ages, like we're still going, or you're like, oh, this little bit's not great, or these lyrics aren't. These lyrics are a bit strange. These don't fit nice, or a lot of stuff like that. Whereas now, both Won't Stand Down and Compliance Again, there is that tightening knit feel, and I think Matt has chosen really good lyrics. Like, not just good lyrics. I think he's chosen really good lyrics that stand with the best of Muse. You're not going to get world-class lyrics from Muse ever, really. There's like... if I go through their discography, I could probably come up with like... I could probably count the number of like really, really, really truly amazing lines on one hand. I talked before about how I would barely it took me many albums to even consider it, like what I would get for a Muse tattoo, and even now it's like, yeah, I don't think there's anything that lyrically stands out enough to really make me get a tattoo in a like, wow, this lyric is amazing way. It would be like oh, this song means so much to me, I'd like to get a part of it, but I would almost feel awkward about some of the lyrics that from songs that mean a lot to me. Lyrics have never been there, and it's why I get really annoyed at like the discourse over lyrics, like the bashing on the lyrics and the bashing on Matt is frustrating to deal with, because it feels like that people are expecting something. But it's not even, I'm not saying to grade Matt on his own personal curve. What I'm trying to say is now that like it's frustrating dealing with people that are obviously Muse fans and act like Muse have gone downhill with lyrics whenever they did. But this is now like stuff that for me stands with Absol Origin, Black Holes for lyrical content. There is nothing any cheesier here than a lot like my favorite album's Absolution, and fuck me, like I love Sing for Absolution, I love Hysteria and all that. Bland as fuck lyrics if you want to look at them in the same way in this, as people would call them that, if they were calling them the way that they call Compliance. And it's frustrating to deal with trying to talk about the lyrics whenever people are just going straight in with, it's just Muse doing another political song and it's just generic one-note stuff. I've seen stuff like you know, like boring rhymes with Compliance, and I've seen like just like again that whole like, oh, they're just calling out a bland generic leadership and not the anonymous bad guy and all that. Whereas like this is very focused. It's not as focused as Psycho, with the way Psycho was with the military and tried to double it up obviously as the loving relationship that Matt tried to do with that album that didn't really work out successfully, in my opinion. I feel this is a lot more simple and better for it, and just because it's spread out a bit more doesn't mean that it's not targeted at specific things, and it's a generic enough thing that anyone could see it. And like I saw another comment on Reddit, like it's just another song about the good guys versus the bad guys, and like Uprising in that is just like a, you know, you can it's, you know, it's an uprising. Anything can be an uprising. Whereas like talking about cults and predatory groups like this, in the way that the lyrics pan out and the theme pans out, off focusing on the fear of someone to get them on their side and be loyal to them and be their toy soldier. It's a very different vibe. And it's a very different focus. It's a very different focal point for Matt's political worries, I would say, at this stage. And I think it provides an interesting dynamic. And I think there's some really interesting lyrics in here. Just like Won't Stand Down again. I need to keep emphasizing Just Like Won't Stand Down just to explain why I'm so excited about this album. there are two songs now where I feel Matt has stayed away from a lot of what he would do in lyrical choice, and is going for something that sounds a bit more interesting and a bit more flowy. And it comes across as less cringe as far as I'm concerned. It comes across as a lot more natural, and it comes across as earnest, which is why I wonder if it's like more of a reflection on where Matt may have been in the past with a conspiracy, or his general fears and that, and like any groups that, or like individuals or anything that could have been like playing on him. Like this is like maybe a thing from his past of worries, and like obviously like applying that to looking at today and what you see with the stuff like QAnon picking up people and all this anti-vax bullshit that goes on from bullshit people and everything else in the world, like that. And then like, you know, the various religious stuff and different cults and just gangs, like as the companion piece, the foreword almost that Matt released of what Compliance was about, and then them talking about the album and what it's about with the pandemic and the world falling apart and where things are going. It's hard not to look at where that song is pointed towards, who it's pointed towards, and why it's written the way it's written. I've seen people going on about this is another song that the right, that the alt-right, the far right and all this can like focus on and be like, oh hey, you know, like we can it's ambiguous enough to like that they'll adopt it. And I'm surprised to actually see that some are. Someone retweeted me yesterday about it as well, thinking that I was another bloody thing involved with anti-vax stuff and all that. And it's like, I don't see how you can listen to these lyrics. I know that art is interpretive to the individual and all that, but I still don't see how some of these lyrics can be not pointed towards certain factions just for the way that it's spread about fear and that kind of thing. You know, it's a very deep thing. You know, it's an interesting way to go about it, and I just don't get how. Oh, hi Jordan. Hi guys. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying the bus. Don't go and slap the bus driver in the back of the head. Where was I? Yeah, it's very hard to see why it is seen as generic for the lyrics as it is when it does stand up versus the good years of Muse and the good era. Anyway, right. So, fuck it. Let's hop in and have a look at some of these lyrics and everything else, and where it plays into the theme and where Muse have taken and where Matt is going with the start of this album, I guess, seeing as Will of the People is probably just going to be a single thing over and over again. There we go. Definitely not genius.com that we're on right now. Definitely not. Absolutely not. Righto. There we go.
Compliance, we just need your compliance. You will feel no pain anymore, no more defiance.
So yeah, you know, I find it's such a good start. Those synths, man, they're so good. They're so fucking wonderful. Like, just coming in there, straight in. Matt's amazing vocals and just jumping in with an interesting star. And then, like, you know, it's painting an interesting picture already with the whole you will feel no pain anymore and no more defiance. So we're already looking at people who find that the predatory groups are focused on people who are struggling with opposing opinions and just any sort of like attack on their own person, own free will, own ideals, own morals, own life choices, own culture, and that kind of thing. It's not bad. It's not bad. But the important part is coming up, and it's not lyrically. It's the best hook that they have done since at least Easily or Supermassive.
We just need your compliance. Just give us your compliance. We won't let you feel
first off, I love the compliance robot voice so fucking much. It is so good. I didn't even notice it for the first day, but it's like right there, just roaring in your face. How did I not see it? I guess it just faded into the background because I was paying attention to the bass that much, because the bass has me hooked so much. But that's, you know, it's a really good little robot voice, and a lot less cheesy than unsustainable. So well done, you've finally done some good production. I'm so proud of yous. Well fucking done. I mean, we'll get on to the production again later, but I have a lot to say about that too. Another thing about not feeling lost anymore, no more self-reliance. So, you know, like, down in their luck, problematic, feeling lost. Again, whenever you have the no more defiance line, you play into that part of like people who are focused on like losing themselves because they're in a space where they don't see themselves anymore, a space where they don't see their culture anymore, a space where they feel that is all being eroded away. So like with this and some of the other stuff that we're getting on, like it feels a lot more pointed than I guess the Reddit posts and the Twitter posts and all that are going with, in terms of the lyrical flow and lyrical guidance almost off like it. And it's an interesting way that Matt went with the whole thing, because again, I think it plays into like any self-reflection possibly there on from what he used to talk about from like 2006 2009, and maybe like stuff around the Resistance whenever he had issues with relationships and that, and things all came to a head in terms of that, in terms of the conspiracy side, and where that point of vulnerability might have come in with where he was seeing himself due to the change. Like I think this plays into this plays with a lot of like what Matt has talked about since, about where he was with conspiracies in the past and why he changed and where he changed. It certainly seems to me to like really focus on that point in time and where like things went for that side of the conspiracy side, because that was around the time that like the conspiracy shit became an issue if you're into it, because that was whenever it started getting adopted heavily by the likes of Glenn Beck, and when Alex Jones really began to showcase his true self, unveiling himself from the shadows as being this little alt-right shilling twerp bag. And it's I don't know, it feels like just due to a lot of what Matt has said in the past, having that context makes it feel like it is focused on that part. And I don't know, and then like underneath all this you have that driving bass line, that little hook that sounds like a bit like Daft Punk, and it just goes on and on forever but doesn't get old. It's a lot more dynamic than what they did with the Psycho riff, and Chris just going up and down a bit with it over and over again with this melodic, rhythmic, hypnotic bass line just fits in again to where it is going with being the song being about comforting someone who is so vulnerable, so weak that they can absolutely be molded into the toy soldier that we get later on, is fits together quite nicely, I think. It's a nice little ditty to start off with. So let's hop on then into the first verse.
Fall into line, you will do as you're told. No choice, fatigue, your blood is running cold. We lose control, the world will fall apart. Love of your life will mend your broken heart.
So, incels. Yes, incels. Is that where we are here now? Possibly part of it, you know, like obviously that has been, the incels have been a very targeted focal point for say Putin's bots and all that, you know, love of your life and your broken heart, you know, the groups that you buy into become the love of your life. The brotherhood of pain is where you find your solace, is where you fix yourself up. And after you've had all your choices and growing up, your choice fatigue. Now, Matt delving into decision fatigue is interesting as well. Like, I guess going back to the self-reflection, it's hard to like focus somewhere that he's mentioned that any decision fatigue came in, but it's I guess with the focus being on the pandemic in the last couple of years, we have so much like general choice fatigue and general decision fatigue in our daily lives, between like everything that we do, and between price increases and having to decide, like, do you want this service, do you want that service, do I need to switch to this electrical service that's 5% cheaper, or can I find another one like bonkers.ie that's like 10% cheaper? Can I do this, can I do that? All the different choices you have, like everybody's getting like overwhelmed with that choice, and it just leads to like that fatigue. And like when you combine like the bad news after bad news after bad news after bad news, and the tactics that say Trump came out with of pumping out bad news after bad news after bad news to cancel out to fatigue everyone on previous news because they couldn't keep up with it, because it was just a constant flow of absolute bullshit. And how if there was something that was like really bad, there would be a campaign message on his Twitter or whatever from someone that would like try and take the focus away from whatever else was going on, and let things pass, and like just you lost yourself in the mire. So like losing yourself in that choice fatigue of general life, it feels like, again, like you've got it's a point towards what is going on with a lot of social media stuff, and where you see the likes of the Putin bot armies and everything else like picking up people and getting them to buy in to the possibility of whatever is going on with the different things that they're pushing. And it's the same with like any other gangs and all that, and everything else, like just going there and really taking advantage of. Like this is probably the easiest point in history, I would say, for recruiting things and recruiting people and breaking things down. And that was even before like we had the mental health crisis from the pandemic and World War III now and everything else. Like it's all just folding into place where brains have been destroyed to the point that it is just so widely open to be fucked. And I like that Matt is tapping into a lot of this, and it like just the basic stuff. Then like the love of your life and man your broken heart could even tie back to like again the 2009-2010 era Matt, and what that might have been for any vulnerabilities he had then. That's that really. That's all that part speaks to me. I like the instrumentally then in that section. I like the guitar stuff in the background. I'm assuming it's a guitar. It sounds similar to the strings that he tried to pull in Won't Stand Down, in terms of like molding guitar into like sounding like something else. So it could be synth, but it sounds like guitar to me in the background, just being plucked away. Right. I guess now. Second part of this first verse.
Life lived in fear, you need protection. You're all alone, too much rejection. We have what you need, just reach out and touch. We can save you, we just need your compliance.
I love that chorus so much, I almost didn't want to pause it. It's just once those synths hit, man, it's so good. It is so fucking good. Right, where are we at here? I love the way he sings Protection. I just do. It's like psychological war out of Won't Stand Down. There's just something about it, and it fits really well. Your life in fear and all that. After coming up with the broken hearts, after coming from the broken heart stuff and all that, it feels very pointed again at the stuff that has come out about who is targeted by the current propagandists of the world, and why they're in, like, you've got the too much rejection line now. Like this is like, you can feed it into like just general like fucking being turned down for everything in life at the moment, but like a lot of it does feel to me like it is there's been so much stuff out about like the recruiting off single men, especially single white men, to be radicalized almost in like by Putin's bot armies and all this other stuff. Like, it is an interesting factoid, and I it feels like something Matt would tap into. And then like the "we can save you" line fucking haunts me so fucking much, because it is a line you see so often from everything from the evil fucking televangelists to everything else. It's just a typical line. It's a very basic line to throw in, but like just the way it's done, and with the almost choral sentiment in the background to echo in the cult like of having a group behind the leader that is already there to help drag in more and make you feel like you're in that brother or sisterhood. It's fucking haunting. It's scary as shit. And again, being in a position where like that was almost like a choice in life for me about 15 years ago, it's fucking scary. It is. It cuts me down, and it fucking kills me. It does. It's scary shit, man. And the way they have the save you come in as the echoed sentiment and all that for the group dynamic, what it feels like the group dynamic is gets me. And also like to just reach out and touch, like you've again focused on modern social media, like almost like you don't even need to go out and get the people anymore. You don't need to, they come to you and will get in touch with things once they are so broken down, once they have just that general fatigue from everything in modern life. You see it all the time now, that just people are just like tapping into the whatever they can to like feel part of something and get that taken advantage of. So this predatory group knows that, they can feel that, and they can just they don't even have to try, and that is fucking terrifying. They're just there, and they get the people coming to them, flocking to them. Now it is sickening almost. Back to the chorus then. Again, we know what the chorus is like at this point.
We just need your compliance. You will feel no pain anymore. No more defiance. Just give us your compliance.
I love the drums at the end. I just love the little slamming in as beating it over the head, as you know, a bit of a beat over the head as we get back then into the next verse, and you know, just we had the story, we had the scene set now for the person reaching out to the group and having that and seeing that brotherhood and being welcomed and being promised to have their issues and worries talked about and soothed and just them to be comforted now. And then we're back into like the evil cults and evil groups now taking advantage and getting that compliance and molding the subject into a their little radicalized little buddy.
Your tracks, we know what's best for you. You've bitten off much more than you can chew. You're running scared, you'll run into our arms. Come join our clique, we'll keep you safe from harm.
The synth in the background is so good. It's just like it's I don't even know how to describe it. It reminds me of something else. Like so there are two things in this song that remind me of something, and I can't think of what they are, and it is driving me nuts. It's the "We Can Save You" bit with the backing vocals, and then that bit of synth in the background, and that is driving me nuts. I cannot figure out where it is, and if I can figure it out, or if someone ends up fucking saying something that is like, oh yeah, that's it, I am gonna give them €2 because it is driving me that insane. It is something, and it's a really nice little choice. Again, it feels like something that Muse would have done a long time ago. It's another part that makes it feel a bit like Easily, and a lot of stuff from the Black Holes era. It's I genuinely feel that Muse of the last 4 albums, say, would have done something a bit louder that would have overtaken the track a bit. Whereas at least this was dialed back enough that it lets that focus come through on the lyrics and on the flow and keeping that bass-driven style that Muse used to be famous for. And it's cool. It's just really cool. Cover your tracks, you know. It is what it is, you know. You're making sure that whenever they come in, that you know that they can't be tracked down and all that, and now they're being convinced into fully now that like they're in there. This makes them scared of their normal life even more now, and they need to entrust in the predators that, well, they know what's best for them. And then we're back to the clique again, that brotherhood, keeping everyone together. You feel like you're part of a group. You feel like that you start to matter versus where you were before. And it's so nice that it's so scary, isn't it? You're finally kept safe. You're finally kept comforted. You're finally kept happy, and you can start and because of you being kept happy and feeling like you've got that comradeship now, it makes it feel it's the right place, that no matter what happens, that you're in the right spot, that you're in the right now, and that you can just, you know, you can then go on and do what we have in the second part of the second verse.
Our toy soldier, you'll do the dirty work. Stay loyal to us, we'll take away the hurt. We have what you need, just reach out and touch. We can save you, just give your compliance.
I hate pausing during this chorus, I really do. It's so good. It's such a good chorus. At this point where the intent is obviously there fully now of what the evil people want to do, what the evil groups want, that radicalization will happen. The toy soldier is there. He'll do all the shit. They can keep their hands clean, and they know that they're taking advantage of these people, of the people of the modern era that are just absolutely fucking fucked, and coerced, bullied, and just beaten down into submission to being the toy, the plaything of these people, the people taking advantage of them. And again, we're back to repeating again. You've got the choral group of the entire cult, inviting them in, making them feel safe, and they're now celebrating the fact that they don't have to fucking bother searching out people anymore, and reach out and touch. It's a good line as far as I'm concerned. Really good, really fun, really fun how dark we are.
We just need your compliance. You will feel no pain anymore, no more defiance. Just give us your compliance.
The robotic compliance, the robotic compliance is ridiculously fun. I can't wait to see I guess Morgan doing that live. So we've had the section now with Matt beatboxing. I'm guessing it's Matt, and I'm guessing it's beatboxing. You know, going full Dead Star here with the I thought it was record scratching at first, and we would have the first bit of like record scratching since the last time the record scratched on Hysteria. I think it was Hysteria that had the record scratching. I'm pretty sure it was Hysteria that had the record scratching. But having Matt beatbox, it's great. Who doesn't love Matt just randomly beatboxing in this song? You know, I could do some like real go deeper on this fucking college essay on artistic interpretation, and be like that him beatboxing is a sign of the predators being so arrogant now that they can just fucking dance away and beatbox. But You know, I'll leave that for whenever I want to bullshit my way through to a proper A or something. We'll keep it like a C- for now. I like that breakdown. I like to start the breakdown. It's heavy. After having the toy soldier molding thing, I wonder like if it, you know, like if it's thematically you could jump into it being like about just like, you know, the actual bullshit happening, and the subject getting a bit, seeing that they've bitten off more than they can chew, and actually being in here for like whatever bad shit is going down with this group. And I guess now we go on to the part that is new to me, outside of like half a dozen listens, seeing as I was too busy trying to buy the fucking album for ages that I didn't get to properly listen too much to the to what we have added new versus the radio edit from the music video. So, like, it's quite a sad part. I guess now if we do want to go down a bit more of that, some college fucking bullshit essay, you could, like, if the previous part was the bad shit going down, then maybe this part is like the subject now having realized that it's going bad, that they're just like they're in a period of doubt of if they're doing the right thing, and you've got the bass line sounds a bit more sad and everything, and but then you get the "We Can Save You" again from the group coming in and immediately switching back to the compliance stuff, and I guess this is the final reassurance that sucks in the subject, suppose, you know, if you want to read it this way. And it's they're in now. They're all in. They're all in, like I am with this album and where it's going, and just having that quick change up. It's weird not having that in the radio edit. It is weird, and it changes things up a bit. I'll have to get used to it now because I'm so used to it without any sad little refrain kind of thing, little bridge. That it's a weird one to get around, but I like it. I do. I think it definitely adds something else to it rather than just pumping on through. I mean, it feels like it has to have a meaning if it's there, right? So it's an interesting little point. And again, scary as shit that we go straight back into the cult.
We just need your compliance. You will feel no pain anymore, no more defiance. We just need your compliance. We just need your compliance. We won't let you feel lost anymore. No more self-reliance.
So yeah, group's all in now. The next added bit over the original version is the building and a looping of the chorus in this part, as a final like reassurance that the subject is in the right spot, is where they need to be, and this cult can give them what they need. And now it's all in. Now it's a full on party. Now we go fucking dark. Now we go deep, where the final repeat of the chorus is just a fucking banger. An absolute banger. The cult, the gang, whichever evil thing you want to impart in this modern world of tribalism and pain and taking advantage, and depending on where you read, from where the lyrics have been before this, that they're now together and they're now absolutely going for some sort of apocalyptic rave, as the song fucking slaps its way out. Fuck it, let's just go for it.
We just need your compliance. You will feel no pain anymore.
I fucking love the distortion on like the bass and the synth there, like the warp, warp, warp noise. It's so good.
No more defiance. We just need your compliance.
Epic drums, epic drums. Simple but epic drums. Thank you. And finally, the outro. I find this is like, I think this is like some of Matt's like top 20 lyrical work. Fear is controlling you. Time to give it up. I still think it's give it to us, but it could be given to us. I have it. Matt's pronunciation is still as problematic as mine is. So you know, either way, it doesn't really change that much. We're not talking about a madness situation where it feels like it changes the thing. I feel give it to us to be a bit more cool, a bit more interesting, but give in to us is fine. It's fine. And so yeah, you got that final dragging of the fear out of them, reminding them of their fear, and pulling them in, dragging them in to control them based on fear. That again, this whole song describes like one specific group completely, and again, I find that it's interesting that it all I feel it all ties in with like a lot of Matt's past and different things. So that's pretty cool in my regard. Now, that's all interpretation and all that. That's whatever. I still think now that like listening to that now, going through it again, I cannot stop listening to it. I've been listening to it on repeat. It is. I think it. See, listening to it, now, talking about it, I feel it is better than Supermassive Black Hole because it's just got such a consistent flow to it. I feel that the problem with Muse's political songs have been that they rarely get the flow right for making the whole vibe feel as it should. And this having this bouncy fucking bop, the boppiest bop that ever bopped out of Matt Bopamy's boppux is a hell of a juxtaposition with the lyrical content and where things are and where this is going, and setting up like, I know Will of the People now is like 3 minutes long. I'm still unsure whether it is like just going to be like maybe like a riff or something, or like a not an instrumental obviously because you've got the Will of the People thing, but if it's just going to be that chant over something interesting for 3 minutes and it is just going to end up being an intro to the album. But having this all on the general theme that we're going with off the fucking bullshit last 3 years or last 7 years, if you really want to focus on that. It's an interesting vibe, and I think Muse have actually hit it right for once. I think the really good production helps. This is like the best studio song I've ever heard from them production wise. It's so good. The everything's so clean. Everything's so spaced out on the soundstage. Like even the audio rip from the Vimeo thing, Spotify, everything else has all sounded really good. It's like you will rarely ever hear me praise Muse's studio work. There's 14 years of documentation on Twitter on that. They have hit something here that is unexpected in terms of how crystal clear things are, and I think that really helps elevate it too, versus what you had with the likes of Supermassive and that, where things went to fucking shit in that era, and went like, the only other comparable thing I think you can think of in terms of production work is The Second Law. That was mixed and mastered well. Simulation Theory was quite good too, but The Second Law, especially after The Resistance, was the low point. For me, I realized that Black Holes will be the low point for a lot of people, but they're pretty toss up. This having the epic production quality mixed with where we are with all the themes coming in, and that bouncy bass being one of Chris's best bass lines that he has ever pulled out of himself, and all the other stuff thrown in here with the interesting little mixes, and Muse not meandering on into bullshit and actually seemingly having something earnest to say. Matt comes across as if he has something earnest to say, and I feel that the lyrics are getting a rap online that they do not deserve, as I've already explained through going through everything else. And having all that mixed together into a bop is fucking amazing. It is one of Muse's best works for all this. It hits something. It is very refreshing. It is very timely. It is very it's very off the moment, surprisingly, and I know that Muse are often seen as the vibe chasers, but I feel that there's not really much I can compare this to in modern music. I feel like it would be a bit more mellowed out, and maybe there'd be a few things that'd be changed that wouldn't be as dark if they were as chasey as they normally do come across. There are some choices here in lyrics. I feel that Matt would not have gone for click in any previous album. And that might be surprising to some people, because that probably, whenever you hear it, it sounds like a Matt lyric. But I feel like he would just have gone for something else that would like fit a bit more awkwardly. I feel like this has been pieced in a way that doesn't feel completely Matt. The bones of Matt are here, but it definitely feels worked on compared to what we've got with the absolute shite from everything from, I mean, everything. And everybody, like, if anyone has ever followed me on Twitter and that, knows how much I absolutely hate Dig Down, how much I hate a lot of the lyrics on The Second Law, how much I hate a good portion of The Resistance, how much I hate a lot of the stuff on Drones lyrically. And I think it's interesting to have Muse actually mix all things together. Like, this is Muse at their pop peak. This is where they finally hit that point where that they try for so long, and they get closer every time. Dead Inside is the last one I can think of that is as close, and it fell by the wayside because of the lyrical choices and Matt's attempts to mix up that personal relationship with this military a thing that was going on, and like the theme is also very comparable to this, except, you know, it was more focused on the military rather than cults, religions, political groups, and all that this is focused on. To have Dead Inside have so many shitty bits to it, took away from it so much, and like, there's nothing cringe here for me. It all fits, it all works together, and it all makes sense. And it along with some bits that are interesting. Which one is it? It is the only lyric that I have a problem with. It's probably the love of your life will mend your broken heart. That feels like that's almost touching on Muse's old stuff. But again, if we went down a self-reflection thing, maybe that would be part of it and all that. But like, that line isn't much worse than most things out of something like Hysteria, Mappa Problematique, a lot of stuff that Muse have done. So like, it is another Muse song in that sense, but it has a bit of heart to it, and it has that modern touch of being here for the what's the fucking word I'm looking for? It's very for that contemporary feel anyway. It's not contemporary, it's not the word I'm looking for, but it's close enough. For where we are, and it feels like this is the most Matt has been connected to the world, and the most like this feels like a proper like worry. And seeing his interviews from through the pandemic, like the few interviews that he did and stuff that he talked about, I can see why maybe he went down this route. And I know that I was, after one stand down, I was like, okay, this seems interesting. Matt seems to have his finger on the pulse for once. Over interesting stuff. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt here. This and the foreword and all that is really making me think that like this is going to be a really top album for a lot of lyrics. Now watch me be proved wrong, and watch us get like a lot of bullshit. I mean, I'm still concerned about You Make Me Feel Like It's Halloween. How could I not be? What title is that? Maybe it's that weird and out there that it's gonna be fine, but it makes me think of like Thoughts of a Dying Atheist, but which at least sounds cool. It sounds like it sounds like, especially like an I'm 14 and this is deep title, but you make me feel like it's Halloween is fucking, how is anyone meant to guess where that's going? How is anyone meant to guess what Matt is thinking from it? But yeah, so having this come out now in this current climate, in this way, and having Muse almost with a delicate touch that they never have, piece it together and be a bit intricate. Thinking about it, the closest I can think of is Madness. But again, the lyrical content, and I feel like some of the flow of the instruments didn't work there as well. I find that like the guitar solo coming in there is a bit weird. I actually like the outro of that song quite a lot. It feels like that outro of Madness multiplied and steroided up into something expansive, boppy, a bit more popular, and a lot of pop in this, and it's what was that quote about Supermassive at the time, that they wanted to make a song that was dancey and that was radio friendly with falsetto. I think was Matt's whole thing, that he wanted to do with male falsetto, and hitting the point of this, obviously you don't have the falsetto on that, but it feels like they've made a really good dance track. The thing that they failed to do with Follow Me, with obviously a different EDM time at the time, but that's why it all comes together in being Muse's best pop song for me, because there is something there that isn't on Supermassive. And the thing about Supermassive is as well, Supermassive feels a lot more of an experiment, especially when looking back and seeing like how a lot of the guitar stuff went, and then how it went with the Chaos Pad Live and all that. Whereas this feels like they know, like this feels like a well manufactured pop song, a very well manufactured pop song. And I mean that as the biggest compliment I can give them, because I never thought they'd be able to do it. I never thought they'd be able to, like, not even a case of reining themselves in, but not let them get carried away with too much randomness, too much weirdness. Gary mentioned something to me earlier about just brought up vocoders and all that, and I find the vocoder use in this song very interesting, because it feels like Muse would have went overboard before on vocoders throughout the whole chorus on everything, whereas this again feels a lot more pointed. It feels a lot more deliberate. It feels a lot more it feels a lot, it feels crafted, and it's weird to say that about Muse, because it's not something I usually associate with them. And that is something that's really cool. And maybe that's part of why people are so hating on it right now. Similar to the ways that, like, the changes in Supermassive and where they went with that and where they were pushing themselves, why that was seen as awkward in the fandom. It's really cool seeing Muse hold themselves to something that is well crafted, and it's especially vocally as well. I feel like Matt, like the verses especially, I think that's like where, again, it reminds me a lot of Easily, because I think Easily was like is unfortunate to have not been on Black Holes, because that is, I would say, is probably their most well crafted song before this. It all it's very tight, and it has a point to it. And I know Matt has said Easily is his favorite song before. I don't know if it still is, from their own catalog, but I do wonder if they looked back on that and kind of like had a tried to recreate that, because like I can't get the feeling of Easily out of my head with this song, from that bass and from the flow of the vocals and from how it is painted, and not painted in Used by Numbers fashion. Because Easily still doesn't sound like the average Muse song, and it's really cool. It's really cool that they're able to pull that out again in 2022, and it's given me so much hope for where this album is going and what they're doing, and where Matt is going to take this push for looking at the modern world and looking at his own life. And it's weird considering that as well, because he's talked about how he is quite privileged and how he felt very privileged over being able to like relax and slow down with family life, and where he was in the world, and not like, and at the beginning of the pandemic. And I just wonder where things went. Like, obviously he went through we had the videos of him rescuing his guitars during the Black Lives Matter stuff and all that. And he's been in the middle of a good bit. So I'm interested. I guess it's interesting to see how this has affected him, and how it's coming out through the songs now. And I guess it makes it feel all the more earnest about it. It's really cool. Really cool. I don't know if I've explained enough of why, but that is like all the reasons why I think this is the best pop song they've done. There is something there to it, and it is so well crafted that like they have it is up there. Like, I have a round my top 5 is like the most important songs for me: of Map Problematique, Bliss, Newborn, Showbiz. What was the other song I had in there? Citizen Arrays. There we go. Like, they are probably the 5 most important songs that have happened with Muse for me. And a lot of that is like Map Problematique is, I think, the high point of the lyrics. So like that's there. Bliss is has a naivety to the lyrics that is really sweet, coming out of where Muse were on Showbiz, and coming up through the career. Having So like, and then after those 5 songs is Panic Station and Supermassive, and I think that is where this song ranks. And those are like their poppiest pop songs, and I think they have the longing, the longevity, and they have the emotional attachment now. So I'm interested to see where this goes, because for this to already be up there is quite something. And I like it. This song has really hit me hard. I've already explained why it hit me hard, but like it has in a way that like uses pop songs, like heavily pop influenced stuff, don't normally hit. It is something special for me, and I think that it is. I think over time it'll calm down with people complaining about the lyrics once they like come out of like the general expectation for a new Muse song that like, oh, it's about politics and it's gonna be the generic bullshit. Whenever I haven't even seen that from even before I was like trying to dismantle the lyrics and dissect. I didn't see that at all. I still think it's really good lyrics, and it stands there with the majority of above average Muse lyrical songs. I don't know what else I have to say on it. I still really love I love the compliance stuff. It's really fucking cool. I'm ecstatic that Muse have done this. It's a very welcome song, much more welcome than Won't Stand Down, and I was already high on that. I was already back in on that, but still a bit. This is the refrain part. Whenever they finally convince me and take me fully on board, I'm now too deep in. I've bitten off more than I can chew, and I'm just all in on this Muse stuff. Compliance sucks. Theon, no, absolutely not. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. I wanted to do one more thing now before thing. Don't look at my bookmarks. Let's go to .mu. Enter site. News wise, yeah. So what was it they said about compliance? Is this post? It's the wrong post. Ahem. So yeah, compliance is about the promise of safety and reassurance sold to us by the powerful entities during times of vulnerability. Gangs, governments, demagogues, social media algorithms, and religions seduce us with misleading untruths and comforting fables. They want us to join their narrow worldview in exchange for obedience and turning a blind eye to our own internal voice of reason and compassion. They just need our compliance. So like, I feel like that fits in with like a lot of what I described then, with like where the song went and why the music changed the way it did in the few parts, like very slightly, and where the verses went. So, you know, I like that little forward. It's quite nice for where we're going. And then Will of the People was created in Los Angeles and London and is influenced by increasing uncertainty and instability in the world, a pandemic, new wars in Europe, massive protests and riots, an attempted insurrection, Western democracy wavering, rising authoritarianism, wildfires and natural disasters, and the destabilization of the global order under all-informed will of the people. It has been a worrying and scary time for all of us as the Western Empire and the natural world, which have cradled us for so long, are genuinely threatened. This album is a personal navigation through those fears and preparation for what's to come next. Compliance is about, well, we already read through that, and then, yeah, well, the people available now, go pre-order it. I'm intrigued to see where it goes, and to have this song come out makes me very excited to see this personal navigation through those fears and preparation for what comes next. We're 100% now that the final song is called "We Are Fucking Fucked." So, seeing a Matt Bellamy full of despair in writing music, and what that will bring out of Chris and Dom too, is very exciting. And the album is 37 minutes and 35 seconds long, so it has to hit hard and hit quickly if it is going to hit at all. And the first two songs at least indicate that it will hit something. Whether it retains that across it, we'll see. But hey, we only have 5 months to find out. 5.5. Can't believe it's almost half a year. It's maddening that it's that long until it releases. Yeah, this has been me ranting for ages now. I have, and it is what it is. I just needed to talk about it. I did. I needed to get it out there. I needed to focus on talk about why it's so important to me. Like I don't really talk about like a lot of the about my original journeys down conspiracy lane in the late noughties, or whenever I started going to college and all that, and where things were at the time, and being in a similar position to where Matt had been a couple of years ago. Like, it wasn't even like at that point I hadn't delved too deep into Matt's own like psyche over things. So this was like before I was like super deep in like being a complete fanboy and knowing all about the personalities behind the band. But I do like, all I'd known that was a Matt wore the Terror Storm shirt at Reading 2006, and like I had heard of that before Matt and his Terror Storm thing, and it was whatever at that point. I wasn't too deep into the 9/11 stuff, but I don't know, there was a weird time there, and this song is an interesting like again, I'm going to use the word reflection on it, because it does feel like a reflection, and I don't know, imparting that on Matt is a weird one probably to even come out with, but it's just, you know, from what he's talked about over the years, it seems like it might be a bit closer to the truth of where this song might be, and having that in there with a boppy bop is cool. It's cool. Scary. It's really fucking scary. Song's scary. It underpins a lot of what is scary about the modern world and predators and everyone that preys on weakness and on twisting that for their own ill will. We are fucking fucked, aren't we? So yeah, best song I've heard in years. Very happy about it, ending on a fucking note again about how we're fucking doomed, and this is a horrendous song of scariness. That's my favorite thing. It's why I like Ghosts so much. Ghosts do a lot of good, dark shit with a happy edge that makes you really think and worry. To Muse. Or like a Muse song that is very 80s, and a Ghost album that is very 80s too. Fucking wild. I don't know what else to say, really. That's that. I'm done. Probably not as great as the Won't Stand Down thing, but this was just me spewing my shit. I said it was going to be me spewing, and it was me spewing. So, you know, have at it. I'm off. Fuck this. Fuck everything. We are fucking fucked, indeed. As I'll see is whenever the third song comes out in about 8 weeks with the tour dates. Can't wait to spend more money on that.